helping me out here. So I'm going to go ahead, unless anybody can give me some really quick instructions on how to do this. This is the first time this has come up like this. All right, I'm just going to move forward, and you can see the notes. The notes are important too. Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So,
Is it there?
the notes? I don't see the notes now.
Okay, good. Great. But you do see the presentation?
Yes, I do.
All right.
How about everybody else? People see it?
Does everybody see the presentation? I have two screens and I have two different presentations up and it's coming weirdly. All right.
Okay.
We just see the presentation, not the notes.
Great. That's exactly what I want you to do. All right. So this is the COVID-19 and contingents. We are currently reporting. We've already introduced ourselves, so we will move forward. AAUP put out a statement of solidarity in 2020 that says that there are signs of what's ahead. Could be a great moment of solidarity, of workers fighting together to create a system in which higher wages, health and safety protections are not just an emergency provision for a pandemic, but part of a new normal, a time when hazard pay becomes a living wage, a country where free access to coronavirus testing leads to accessible, affordable health care for everyone. For those of you who know Caprice Lawless, she paints a fairly bleak picture here where she says we're the higher education equivalent of nurses working without masks. But she also said that the present crisis offers an opportunity to pause and imagine a better way forward, as the adjunct status quo is not sustainable. And we all realize that. So, Angel, let you take over here.
You're muted, Angel.
Angel, you're muted. Oh,
yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had to mute myself from an ambulance siren going by here.
Oh,
sorry about that.
Right. Thank you. All right, you're up.
So definitely, we have to acknowledge diversity among the contingent labor force. And depending on who you are and what your position is, your experiences can be very different. I mean, definitely, you can imagine we have it seems like a alphabet soup full of titles: teaching assistants, full-time adjuncts, part-time adjuncts, non-tenure track, full-time faculty. That's a big thing. Visiting assistant professors. I mean, you get to see job announcements like that every so often. That usually means 1-year appointments, or I've extended to 3 years possibly. Even within the CUNY system, the distinguished lecturer position, which is a maximum of 7 years in an annual contract. Each of us has our own experiences, our own needs, and our own concerns. And understand, we're all in this together because, again, we don't have that permanence of employment. And we also have to look at age, rank, sex, gender, race, your culture, and your department and campus culture. So remember, feel free to talk about what is perhaps unique, because at least if you're experiencing some different chance, or somebody else could be experiencing what you're going through too. That's what solidarity is all about.
Great, thank you so much.
Sure.
So here's the faces of contingents and adjuncts. And Angel, this is you as well.
Okay, now, according to the new faculty majority, and again, we have to really think about what is when you look at who's on the front lines, the equivalent of nurses without masks. 52%, between 51% and 61% of adjunct faculty across the United States are women. Women in contingent academic employment are most likely to be among the most politically vulnerable and economically precarious in the academy, and also the least educated about the need for organizational reform. And this is definitely something we have to think about and figure out who needs to be organized. And as well, 25% of adjunct faculty members rely on public assistance. food stamps, SSI, whatever you can imagine. Even just going to the food bank just to get a box of food. And I'm talking about now, but for a long time. I mean, there are even campuses that have food banks that even offer to adjuncts as well. And 40% struggle to cover basic household expenses, according to the AFT. About a third of the 3,000 adjuncts surveyed for the report learn less than $25,000 a year, way below the federal poverty guidelines, and those are paltry to begin with for a family of 4. Another third make up less than 50,000, and again, that's still precarity if you consider who according to the latest that's been put forward by activists, you have $400 in a bank account in case of emergency. If the answer is no, then you're in that precarity, yes. And according to Inside Higher Ed, we do know that faculty of color are overrepresented in contingent positions that have less economic stability and job security than those on the tenure track. And people of color and American Indian faculty remain a small percentage of those on the tenure track in college and university settings, and the numbers get only thinner the higher the ranks. So translation, a lot of adjuncts, fewer assistant professors, and way fewer associate and full professors. And according to AAUP, many contingent faculty members are excellent teachers and scholars. Keep in mind that a lot of us, this is our main day job. And a lot of times, no matter how brilliant our scholarship is, a lot of times we're stuck teaching the introductory course. Why? Because there's a big need for them. And no matter what 2 or 4 year college or private or public college, that's been the big thing. Chances are, if you're going to a 4-year institution right now as a college student, chances are most of your lower level classes, I say the introductory classes, are being taught by adjuncts or any other contingent faculty. Yes. And keep in mind, there's the reason why we see more academic labor that's cheaper by having adjunct labor. And it's not by economic necessity. The money is there. It's just not being spent. These are just the choices that the systems that run the universities make to put us in a race to the bottom. And the excessive use and inadequate compensation and professional support for faculty in contingent positions is really exploitation of these colleagues, of which we're counting ourselves, and there are many more that are not with us tonight. So we're being exploited. There's just no other way of categorizing it. We do the biggest classes with the hardest work, and even online, that doesn't make it any easier. A lot of people saying it. Online makes it even harder, especially if you're not used to it. Definitely does make our work harder. So what has changed? The way we teach, the way we work, the way we live, everything. I mean, the titles haven't changed, but everything else has. And it's time to talk about how to make those changes and what has not changed also. And this is the positive. I mean, we talk about what's shocked to us, our sense of responsibility to our students, a value in the higher education, our dedication to our work, our commitment to academic integrity and freedom, and our need for shared governance. And that, thankfully, has not changed. We're glad it does not change. And what is also has not changed. Again, okay, we're going to our students here. What's been our student population experiencing? Okay, and you can see many of our students are struggling right now too. And we as contingents are on the front lines, not just to battle ignorance, but to battle any problems that students are having. I mean, there's a change in lectures. I mean, labs are reduced, or maybe there's no labs at all. A lot of times they're shelter insecure, food insecure, and health insecure. I mean, one thing a lot of us could think about, I mean, maybe we change the classes, but we have to think about, okay, I mean, are my students taking care of family members, sick family members? Maybe they have COVID and they're the only ones that are not sick and they have to take care of them. They don't know where the next food supply is, because remember, colleges are a big source of food pantries right now for a lot of our students, or maybe they don't have a home. They might be crashing at a family or friend's place, could be in a homeless shelter, could be living in a van for all we know. and they're wondering now, I mean, what's this degree going to be worth? And we're here to help them the best way we can. And these are some of the struggles that our students are faced with. There's a lot more, but this is actually what we as contingents on the front line have to deal with constantly.
One of the things that was supplied by Brandon Bain at UNC Chapel Hill was a new syllabus, a new way of dealing with, helping students to deal with this, but still getting the job done, so to speak. So I won't read through this, but you can see that he's, real clear, like nobody signed up for this. Nobody asked for this. The humane option is the best option. We can't just do the same thing online. We will foster intellectual nourishment, social connection, and personal accommodation, and we will remain flexible and adjust to the situation. So we can't expect things to be the way they were before in terms of our teaching or the way we process and provide information, but as well as the way that it's received. And then what do you do with it? I mean, just everything has changed. So I really thought that the emphasis on prioritizing each other as humans and finding simple solutions that make sense and sharing resources and just realizing that some things are no longer possible, but then yet other things are. So I thought this was pretty interesting. Our employer and our work has also changed. I mean, we're concerned. These are the things we're concerned about, right? Our concerns, our students, our employer, our work. Now you might think, I'm not so concerned about my employer. Yes, we are. We may not label it as such, but if our employer isn't there, then we don't have a job there. So we really, if you think about it, we really want the best for our employers so that we too can have what we need in terms of our teaching. So there's a huge financial impact. And again, I'm not going to read through all of this, but as a matter of fact, I crammed a lot on this page so that I didn't have to, because as far as I'm concerned, the institutions are not what we're here for or to talk about. We're here to talk about you. But really, when you think that, some institutions are experiencing, what they're believing or what they're representing is incredible financial losses. And we can understand certainly how some of that can happen. Some institutions are reducing faculty salaries. They're not renewing contracts. They're freezing hirings and other things. Some are doing furloughs, and I'll give you an example of what that looks like. But, according to according to what I'm reading, a lot of different options are being explored. Some people are panicking, some people aren't, and there's every single thing in between. We're concerned about what's going to be kept, what's going to be eliminated. I'm involved with another group, they have separate interests, and one of them is the fact of dropping sports programs, and that may be an issue for you as well. You may have students who are also athletes, and if their sports program is dropped, they may not be able to return to classes because it may be part of their scholarship or some sort of incentive for them to have come to that particular university. So there's a lot of concern now about what is going on. If your institution claims financial exigency, then I would strongly suggest that you look into that a little bit further. Having gone to Summer Institute, which I highly recommend, and listening to people from Uncoke My Campus, and then listening to Howard Bunsis and some of his presentations, it was very, very clear that many times campuses claim this, but it is not actually true. So you can look further. Don't accept if they just say that that's the way it is. So here's a link to an AAUP webinar on financial exigency that was just held not too long ago, a Forbes article, Colleges Need a Better Way. I want to explain that a lot of, I didn't at the beginning, that this presentation is meant to be holistic in that if you weren't here to attend and you want to be able to supply this to somebody else, it's in its entirety. I would ask once if people could just remember to mute themselves, please, and that would survive or keep us from having a lot of the back feedback on the call. So in terms of the furloughs, for example, Here's a summary of the University of Arizona. I know it's not New York State, but I could find this. Here's a summary of what they proposed for furloughs. So for salaries up to a certain point, and remember what Angel said, so many, a third of faculty are making, you know, 25,000 or less a year, another third 50,000 or less a year. So here, right at here, they're taking a furlough of 13 days to be taken over time. Mm-hmm. For those with 44, you know, thousand up, you can see how this goes. What I think is quite interesting is that for those making $200,000 or more a year, they get a salary reduction of $2,000. That's more than one contingent faculty member makes in a whole semester. It's kind of what I thought was a bit odd. That's like wipes out the whole kit for many universities or colleges that, you know, they're only making $2,100, $2,500 a semester. So I think that's quite interesting. And some other articles. Again, a lot of this is for you to go further and to have as resources. We're concerned about our own financial security. According to the AAUP, when contingent appointments are used, they should include job security and due process protections. Like all faculty appointments, should be clear about what's required in terms of teaching, scholarship, and serve as comparable compensation for comparable work. I know that that's a real big factor for a lot of people and something we've talked about quite a number of times at AAUP National. The assurance of continuing employment after a reasonable opportunity for successive reviews, same thing. Inclusion in institutional governance structures. If we're making up over 70% of the population of teachers, shouldn't we have a voice in faculty governance? It just makes sense. And then appointment and review processes that involve faculty peers and follow academic due process. So this is the National AAUP. They're recommending that no more than 15% of the total instruction within an institution and no more than 25% of the total instruction within a department should be provided by faculty with non-tenure track appointments. This is not to say that we shouldn't have the jobs. It's saying that we should have all those previous factors and not necessarily have that contingent factor. We'd have more security with our appointments. So I just wanted to give a quick look here. This is frightening, I think, for a lot of us. And it's not inclusive by any means, but this is 21920. You can just see what people are making. It all combined: public, private, independent, and religiously affiliated universities. They do not break it out in terms of contingent or adjunct. So sometimes, as Angel had said earlier, our titles are a bit confusing. There's also something called professor of practice, I understand, which also may or may not be on a tenure track line. So if you just look at this, you can see that there's vast discrepancies in incomes. Here's presidential salaries if you really want to get nauseous. But if you look at this here, presidential salary, we'll just take this here. In a public university, the maximum is $999, almost $1 million. Here we have, just over 500,000. What's 20%? That's more than most contingents make in a lifetime. 20%. So we really need to be thinking here. If the university wants to save money, we're not their best bet. They're better off cutting funds elsewhere than us because they don't pay us that much anyway. So we're not a big part of the budget. Just wanted to show you this too about unemployment. You can see how unemployment since the 70s and got up to 2020 there, and we just escalated. This is scary. We recognize that this is scary. We don't want to see jumps like that. We don't want to see it in unemployment. We certainly don't want to see it in Corona, the COVID-19 virus. But it is what it is. You can get unemployment deferment, but you have to be receiving benefits or seeking a full-time job to get it. Here's a link here for that information if you want to look further. But we want to talk about the CARES Act tonight and COVID-19 and some of the relief that it can give you and a little bit more detail there, and then move forward. So CARES Act, $2 trillion stimulus package, financial relief to Americans, COVID-19 pandemic, protections against the collection of most, that's a key word there, federal and state debt. So a recent survey said that, you know, we're also have to be concerned about our health insurance here during COVID-19 because many contingents don't have health insurance. I know when I was in teaching for SUNY and a member of the UUP, you had to be teaching 2 classes a semester consistently to get health insurance. Well, a lot of people never were able to get 2 classes a semester. And, you know, it was very unfortunate. It is unfortunate that we have people without health care. 55% faced challenges finding health insurance, 43% were unlikely to seek medical care, well, without health coverage. The bills are astronomical. How are people going to pay them? And the biggest challenges were the high cost and lack of options. So as contingent adjunct employees, we have to be concerned about this. One of the things that, that I have become aware of is the private debt collectors being able to seize our stimulus checks. Now, Angel and I have been talking back and forth, and have you got your stimulus check yet? No. Have you got yours yet? No. Well, I haven't gotten mine. I haven't seen hide nor hair of it. My husband got his weeks ago. So I don't know where they are, and I don't know why they're not sending them, but I know for a lot of people, that stimulus check meant the world in terms of being able to provide some debt relief. So who's looking out for us? Who's checking to find out which people are not getting this and why they're not getting it? We should not, if you have not received yours, obviously steps need to be taken to try to track that down. It's because debt collection, you know, debt collectors will pile up. But the CARES Act protects you against garnishment of wages, tax refunds, Social Security, disability, and veterans benefits. To collect defaulted federal student loan debt or unpaid taxes through September 30th, 2020. So this is not a, you know, forever get out of jail free card by any means, but at least through the end of September, there is some protection. It does not, however, and I want to emphasize the not, protect seizure of outstanding debt. And so debt collectors can in fact seize a stimulus check to satisfy debt obligations through garnishment in a bank account. So if you had direct deposit and you have a debt collector going after you, they can in fact go after that money. So, you know, this is the unpaid medical bills, which people may have already amassed, you know, if they've got a family, student loan, private student loans, and credit card debt. So they can in fact garnish it if you have credit card debt that has been put into collections. And so, you know, this is, people may be deprived of their absolutely only sense of income. One of the things that I just want to advise you here from personal experience, because I will tell you, I have medical bills in debt collection right now because of an issue with the hospital. But anyway, it's being settled. But I called them because I didn't get my $1,200 check. And I said, did you take my check? And they said, no, we could, but we are not going to. We've chosen as an agency not to. Call, make the call. It doesn't hurt to call if you are concerned about this happening and you need the money. So I just, from a personal perspective, I'm happy to share that with you that, you know, your call can in fact make a difference. Angel, do you want to do this?
Oh, yes. Is anyone out there trying to help? And that's the big question. So far, what we're seeing members of Congress writing to the Treasury Secretary to stop this practice of debt collectors seizing stimulus checks. So definitely, agitation is definitely needed in this case. What's also been helping is also a consortium of 25 state attorneys general, led by New York State Attorney Letitia James, also writing Treasury Secretary Mnuchin a letter, as well as a second letter to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to exempt stimulus checks from being seized by private debt collectors. So this is already an ongoing struggle. And there are governors from several states have issued executive orders to prevent private debt collectors from seizing federal stimulus checks from people in their respective states. So that's something that that Constitution they could definitely work on. So this is going to require a lot, not just of us finding out what happened to our money, but finding out, make sure that other people don't stand to lose money too because of a private debt collector. So this is definitely an ongoing thing. And like I said, it's a coordination, as you can see, between Congress, members of Congress, that is, states attorneys general, and some governors. So this is something that I think we could really expect the struggle to go on for a long time. I mean, the best estimate saying it's gonna be months before a lot of people even see checks. So there's a chance for us to do something about this.
Right. One of the things I want to bring up here too is I've been keeping in touch with Angel again since the 22nd. When I was preparing this, I said, I'm going to call our governor's office and see what his position is in terms of, issuing an executive order to prevent private debt collectors from seizing the stimulus checks. I left a long message. I left an email. I will tell you, I got to thank you for your message back from him, but no phone call or anything else. And I will follow up on that because I think that that's very important that we press for that in New York State as well.
Yes.
I don't give up on getting in touch with people. One of the things, because I have really large student loans, having gone back to school late in life, among other things, we need to talk about student loan repayment. I could just see, but maybe a show of hands if people want to put up a hand if they've got it available for who's got student loans. Yeah. Some, quite a number of people too do. It's hard to come out of college these days, without having some semblance of a student loan. Right now, the CARES Act has provided that some relief. They're temporarily suspending payments, interest, and collections. Again, only on government-held loans, federal loans, does not apply to private loans, from the 13th of March through the end of September, this coming September. And again, just, be aware what kind of loans you have if this applies to you. And also note that this, the student loans are not forgiven and skip months will likely be added back at the end of your loan from what I'm reading. Interest rates currently set at 0% on some federal loans. Collection activity and defaulted loans has been temporarily suspended. If you've got a puppy, could you please mute yourself? Cute dog, but we. My husband's got my dog locked in the back of the house. Otherwise, my dog would be doing that too, I think. So, keep aware of what kind of a loan you have. If you've got, your loans are owned by commercial lenders and some Perkins loans, they are not eligible for this benefit. So and these will automatically, I checked mine, they will automatically adjust your account so interest doesn't accumulate. You don't have to take care of that part of this. If you're in default under the CARES Act, the government won't withhold the money you owe for defaulted federal loans out of your payment. It blocks the IRS from garnishing your tax refund for those late loan payments, and it won't ding your wages or withhold Social Security payments for 6 months under the relief package. So this is also good good news, for the people who are holding school loans. Just because I pushed a little bit further, I wanted to see what might be up now for legislation on this issue, and found that there was in fact an S2712 Adjunct Faculty Loan Fairness Act of 2014. Its current status is in the where is it? I can't remember. Oh, it's in Senate right now. So latest action it is in Senate. You want to be politically active? Here's a place where you can do so. And just a final note, again, I thought this was powerful and I wanted to include it. Michelle Asha Cooper, president of the Institute for Higher Education Policy, said, these school loans were never meant for the majority of people, which is sad to say. They were only ever originally intended for students from upper income families and students whose families had means to pay back the loans. This means it's kind of like the GoFundMe, remember the housing crisis and the countrywide market and all the funding schemes they were doing around mortgages. This is very, very similar in a lot of ways. So instead of saying, oh no, we're not going to give you a loan because, or that much money, or we're going to limit the amount of money you have because we're concerned about you sending them back. The guy from Countrywide Mortgage had a license plate that said, go fund them. And people would come to him and say, I went to the whistleblower tour in Syracuse a few years ago. I listened to this guy who worked there, who was the whistleblower for that company. And he said that they would come in, they say, but these people will never be able to pay back the loans. And he said, fund them. That was his answer. And then that's why we had the crash. So we're having the same experience with student loans right now. It's the same kind of thing. And so, you know, most people will never be able to pay back their student loans. And, you know, it does in fact impact your credit rating. So Angel's going to work his magic here. And we've got a short video that I'm going to play, which I hope I'm going to be able to do here. Yeah.
Hey, if you're not sure where your next teaching gig is going to be, on or offline, how is the crisis affecting you? I'm not just talking about the virus. Our work was already in crisis, and it still is. Let me tell you though, contingent academic labor rocks, and together we have enough smarts to figure out how we can help each other. We have the skills, so why not survive together with them? This is Angel Martínez, Chair of the New York State AAUP Committee on Faculty Holding Contingent Appointments. Yes, that's me too. Come join the AAUP in our town hall for faculty just like us on Wednesday, April 29th. Come see the kind of power we can all have when we all unite.
Thank you, Angel. This is why Angel is the chair of this committee. Just so you know, his energy is infectious. He's doing an excellent job in the position. He's taken some trips I've put him in touch with CoCal. He took a trip to Rochester. We could talk about it another time, and that was a great opportunity. But Angel is there. I am there. We are there for you. And he's going to talk a little bit about the things that are most important from his perspective as a currently employed contingent faculty member. Go ahead, Angel.
Remember, everybody, we are not helpless. We have to unite. We have to come together and see where our strengths are, where we can come together. I mean, there may be some areas that we need some work, but I'll get into that in a moment. The point is we do need to be united in this. And when we're united, we could definitely agitate. That's another thing we have to consider. Definitely make our voices so loud that they can't help but hear them. And while in the midst of agitating, you should also take on lead and supporting roles. There's a lot of roles for people to play in this. If you're, whether it's in the AAUP or in your union local, definitely be there to just take on. I mean, you're in the vanguard anyway, so you definitely want to make your voice and your ideas possible. Make sure that the contingent voice is always there. Never let there be a deafening silence. Also, as what's already happening, you can have adjunct group meetings on your campus. These are a great way to network and realize you're not alone. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, you have a lot to be proud of. And if you see other adjuncts, like I've seen adjuncts work with the Professional Staff Congress of CUNY, let me tell you, it's a really powerful feeling to know that other adjuncts want to do something powerful too. Find points of unity. Again, whatever you can unite on, and again, it's not unity at all costs. It's a sense of unity on things that matter to us. What can we come together and fight very, very much with determination and with commitment? And we have to look at what brings us together most strongly. How do we unite on our strengths? And finally, again, we have to focus on those strengths. And there are a lot of things that you as adjuncts have that we as contingents have that just make us really rock the house. There's a lot of benefits there are to being a contingent labor activist and somebody who's holding contingent labor appointments. And let me tell you, that is something that you have to see for yourself. Don't just see, oh, this is a disadvantage. So what are the advantages we have? Let's look into that. And let's look at some of those special concerns. Just to read them very quickly, there's definitely the employment issue. I mean, not only are we forced to work in online situation, a lot of us are not used to. And again, even for those of us who are used to it, it's still a big shift no matter what. To just go from face-to-face to online in a matter of a week and a half. So we have to think about what is this anxiety we're all feeling, and that anxiety is real. I mean, when people are talking about what they're anxious about, give it a listen. I mean, it might be hard to believe, but then again, I mean, a lot of what I've seen about we as contingents have to deal with they become more believable the more you know they exist, and the less shameful you have to feel. Then you have to wonder, can I get unemployment insurance? Am I eligible for unemployment benefits? Short answer, yes. Long answer, it takes a little bit of work. It's possible, and we need to share resources how to make that happen. Retirement, I mean, could we retire? I mean, first of all, we don't necessarily get paid into retirement benefits. We're not necessarily eligible for that. Or we make so little money, we're not thinking about retirement. We're just thinking about doing this to our graves, and we shouldn't have to do that. What can we do to agitate and unite to make sure we don't have to spend the rest of our lives doing it, that we can just be that emeritus status like our 10-year colleagues could be. And finally, those student loans, as we've talked about, as Sally put together so eloquently. I mean, those student loans are a mother. They could really hinder not just our ability to make a living, but also hinder our ability to have a peace of mind. And that's something that we need to fight against constantly. We also, especially think, how do we make sure that they can't ruin our lives because of these student loans? I mean, we're seeing distinctions between private loans and public loans. So you might want to check out, if you don't know for sure, check out what kind of loans do you have. In fact, one assignment you might have tonight, just make sure, if you don't know already, what kind of loans do you have. And as well, housing. I mean, believe it or not, housing is a real issue. I mean, rent is due in a couple of days, so people feeling a lot of anxiety for that. There are protections under the CARES Act for protection for eviction for inability, and plus we also take advantage that a good fight was put up last year by housing activists to get rid of a lot of reasons for evictions to just happen instantly. So I mean, a lot of more work needs to be done. So let's take advantage of the fact we're in a state that finally has some tenant protections put together due to a lot of agitation of people like us. It wasn't because Cuomo said it was a good idea or the legislature said it was a good idea, because we fought for that. Food insecurity. Remember, we're the ones going to the food banks, the soup kitchen lines, getting those free meals in public schools. And yeah, straight, there's no shame in that. There's no shame in taking free food. You work hard for it. So definitely, you definitely want to take advantage of it. I mean, definitely see, as I say, we work hard for it. And again, you have to accept that in working hard, if you can't pay the bill, you can't figure out whether you're going to spend money on rent or for food, then, well, if you can only pay one thing, then find out places where you can help yourself and take care of some of that food insecurity. Maybe you have family to take care of. You got a parent you're taking care of. You have children you're taking care of. Anybody who's close to you, I mean, that you're responsible for health, physically, mentally, otherwise. Or maybe you're talking about yourself. Maybe you have a lot of health insecurity. Maybe you don't have a health plan, or maybe it's insignificant, or you kind of wonder what the hell does it cover. That is leads a lot of insecurity, which we don't need right now, and especially if you catch yourself. I mean, we don't want to find ourselves being stuck with just praying that we don't get sick. We want to make sure we got something to help every one of us. Remember, it's every one of us. Maybe we don't all have the same benefits, but we should fight to make sure we all have those benefits and together fight for even more to put us on equal footing with our full-time colleagues. And speaking of how we can fight, let's look at some of these benefits that we have. If you think about it, we have to think in times like these that when we focus on our energies, it can help us remember why we need to keep on fighting for our profession or our rights. Let's look at some of these benefits. I mean, we are definitely dedicated to teaching. We're proud of our identity as educators. I mean, we're not doing this just for the fun of it. We're not here to get rich, but we definitely do have a love for what we're doing. I mean, they pay us horrible wages, offer few, if any, benefits or resources. And each semester we say, man, I'm going to go back in the classroom, go back to more. We just love learning, and we want to instill that love of learning in our students. We're dedicated to our students. We're here to help them succeed. And we have a history of rising to instead of running away from challenges. Big classes, one little teaching assistant, doesn't scare us. 4 new preps every semester, I can do that. You're assigning me a second class, it's a new prep, and school starts next week. Hey, thank you, I took it. Hey, I can speak for myself. I had to take an assignment with 1 week notice. In fact, not even 1 week notice. I'm sure a lot of you do it too. And let me tell you, we could do it with aplomb. We're not worried. We're right there. We're in every possible academic environment. We're multidisciplinary. We could definitely teach different disciplines a lot of times we have to. If we could sell our degrees in a way that we could teach a multitude of disciplines, we could do it. Our disciplines, our degrees, our ability is just the same as tenure track faculty. No, our photos are not hanging on the walls. They don't acknowledge when we come in or leave. We're there by virtue of our physical presence, and we're incredibly versatile. We develop our own tool boxes, and we make it work. And we're valuable to the university. We're not necessarily married to the institution. I mean, remember, many adjuncts teach in multiple institutions, yet often we have been there the longest, and we have the longest institutional member. We could teach new junior faculty, as they're called, the ropes and that. I mean, technically we could do this. And this can make this dangerous to the administration because long memories, of course, are very, very dangerous and very scary to those who want you to forget. And we come in, teach, and we leave. We're not having departmental responsibilities, no research responsibilities, no advising. I mean, and also, I mean, the downside is that we're less connected going on and less connected to the ability to engage in shared governance. And in that case, organizations that do fight for shared governance are your best way to get involved as a citizen of your university environment. So what can we do now? Well, first, contact our AAUP chapter leadership and get more involved, or get involved as you start. One way to reduce the stress is staying knowledgeable about not only what your college university is proposing, such as the so-called cuts, I just call them slashing, or just a highway robbery, but what are your representatives in shared governance doing about it? I mean, remember, you can always talk to your representatives within your faculty that say, you know, we're going to fight for your rights. And we heard their problems seem to be more readily answerable at the department level, especially about what will happen this fall. If you haven't already, this is the time to be more involved at the departmental level. Find out what's going on. At the very least, get the information that's relevant to you. Network, strategize, reach out and ask for help when you need it. And it's always okay to ask for help. And now more than ever, we all need to pull together and promote, that is, stand up and fight for shared governance, because this shared governance can stop the abuse that contingent faculty had to face. And if all the talk is correct that there might be stronger strains of coronavirus coming, then we could be more prepared. Why? Because we're more prepared with what we need and what we're able to provide.
So I'm gonna take this one because I found this in an article in the Chronicle, and I want to echo what Angel has said, and what we've tried to present earlier in this webinar for you is, you know, there are challenges, there are resources, there are scary things, there's ways to find relief for those. There's being able to sit back and say, oh, I can't do anything, it's out of my control, which some of it factually is out of our control. Or we can say, I'm going to dig in, as Angel and I and so many of you have already proven, dig in our heels and fight for what we're supposed to be getting, and fight for what's right. And so these three quotes here, now, yes, now is the time for contingent faculty organize. If there was no better opportunity to do that, it's contingent adjuncts pulling together, contingent, I wanted to say contingent at this point, pulling together and organizing and sticking up for each other and getting other faculty besides contingent faculty. Remember, one of the big AAUP models is all one faculty. We're all in this together now. This is a fight we're fighting now that really does unite us in many ways with a lot of our tenure track faculty and all the ranks of faculty on campus. It has that opportunity. If we don't fight now, we may not get another chance. As we move through the viral abyss, it becomes clear to us that collective worker action is exactly what's needed to protect teachers and teaching as we know it. So I'm going to just, at this point, just give you a couple of things here because I am, this is part of my research and my interest. But, you know, I told Angel, I said, we're talking about all this very, you know, this happens, we do this, you know, this comes, we handle it this way. We have a meeting. But who deals with all the emotional stuff that's going on for all of us? Who deals with that? How do you deal with the emotional stuff? So it's really scary. And you know that this COVID virus is spreading and that people are dying. They're getting sick and they're dying. It's terrifying to think that our already precarious positions are being further compromised and threatened, and by this disease and its follow-up. Feelings of fear, anxiety, sadness, uncertainty are also extremely common during a pandemic. Sometimes it just helps to name them. I am scared. I am angry. I am whatever. Just being able to name it, because you feel a sense of control. You know, many feel a sense of lack of control over their lives. This is all perfectly normal, but we can be proactive about our mental and physical health to keep our minds and our bodies stronger through this. If we're going to make it through this, we have to make it through in our best selves, and everything we do to increase that is going to help us out. So think about, what are you doing? I know people are crazy busy. I mean, they're worried about, they're doing their work, they've got families, they've got, as we've already talked about, so many other things to take care of. But this is like that airline thing, put your own air on first. So think about, on a daily basis, what are you doing to take care of your emotional, intellectual, physical, and spiritual health and well-being? And what's one small step that you could take today to move you from like where you are to where, you know, where you would like to be? So there's a variety of things I found this, I have no idea, but it's got somebody's name on here, but it's, you know, looking at the emotional occupation, you can see, you know, getting enough sleep, being active, eating well, making good use of your time, use some creativity. Angel does music and poetry and all sorts of creative outlets, which is great. Finding some, you know, meaning in life, continuing to learn and master new skills. So there's lots of things that are available for people to do. You know, we're not totally helpless in this, and we really, really do have to take care of ourselves so that we can come out on the other side in a better place. So we would like to thank you for attending this. Angel's going to remind me in a minute, I know, to turn off the recording, but I just wanted to provide this is our contact information. This is the new website, NYSC AAUP.org. Brand new website. Check it out, please. We'd love for you to visit it frequently and get your colleagues to do the same. This is my contact information. This is Angel's contact information. And what I've also done, let me just move forward here a second, is I provided tons of resources for you. So I've given you lots and lots faculty resources. Here's some AFT things that I thought were really good in terms of bargaining. Everybody working together. Remember, we're talking about networking here. And resources from other organizations, government resources, student loan relief information. So you've got all sorts of stuff here for you to use as a resource in sort of a one-stop shopping place, so that hopefully it helps. So I am going to go up here, and I'm going to